There was once a businessman who complained to his rabbi, because that's what people do, they complain to their rabbis, that there was a competitor robbing him of his livelihood. The rabbi responded with this story. Have you ever noticed, the rabbi said, that when a horse goes to the river to drink, it strikes its hoof against the bank? Do you know why it does this? The man just stared at the rabbi, angry that he seemed to have missed the whole point of his complaint. I'll tell you why, the rabbi said. When the horse bends his head down to the river to drink, it sees its face reflected in the water. Mistaking the reflection for another horse, it stomps the ground to scare the other horse away and preserve all the water for itself. Now, we know today that the river is capable of watering far more horses than just one. It's too easy, like this misguided horse, to view life through a narrative of scarcity, a zero-sum game where if we give more to others, there is necessarily less for ourselves. We are living in a time where there is so much abundance, and yet we are somehow surrounded by so much stinginess of spirit. The great sage Mary Poppins reminds us that enough is a feast, and we do have enough. When I say enough, the Jewish members in attendance think one thing. They think, Dayenu. That's because Dayenu, it would have been enough, is somewhat of our unofficial national Jewish anthem. And yet all of our faith traditions teach us something similar. Dayenu means not only to be grateful for what we have, but also to be hopeful in a future that will continue to be filled with bounty. When we have faith that there is enough for all, we are more open, more compassionate, and more generous. It is up to us to recognize and live the simple, paradoxical truth that we must give in order to receive. It is only through empathy for others that we learn the true power of our inner selves. There is a beautiful commentary on the Hebrew word vinatnu, read from the end of the book of Exodus. The word is a palindrome. That means it's the same when it's written both backwards and forwards. And the word vinatnu is about giving. The ancient rabbis teach us that whatever a person gives to help the vulnerable will come back to her. Giving is a cycle. We should be giving as we might receive. Being part of a community means that throughout all of life's ups and downs, we should be supporting others as we ourselves are supported. Generosity, either material or of spirit, does not create a deficit, but rather a gain. The giver benefits as much or more than the recipient. The ancient rabbis of the Mishnah teach us something similar. They write, the one who says, what is mine, and what is yours is a fool. But even worse is the person who says, what's mine, and what's yours is mine, for that person is evil. That kind of greed, the ancient rabbis taught, is so sinister that when it becomes part of the prevailing culture, it is even dangerous. In fact, one rabbi even suggests that is why the famous biblical city of Sodom was actually destroyed. The narrative of scarcity is in fact associated with many of our biblical villains. Pharaoh is afraid that there isn't enough to go around. Pharaoh has to try to have it all. He is filled with fear in the face of scarcity. In the book of Esther, the evil Haman's fear surfaces in the face of admiration shown to another that he felt was due to him. Amalek, the ultimate in biblical evil, shows no fear for God and denies the humanity of other. They all teach the same thing, something so relevant in our own time and on this day. When we succumb to the fear that there aren't enough good things to go around, it breeds ruthless cruelty. And so, we gather today, as Rabbi Goldwasser said, on this 55th anniversary of President Johnson's war on poverty. We gather to stand up for those who live on the outskirts of hope, to do what we can to replace despair with opportunity. We gather today to counter the narrative of scarcity prevalent not only here, but in our national dialogue, and its ugly side effects of fear and greed. We gather to instead weave a tale of abundance, a story that teaches we do have enough to care for those in our community who need a helping hand. Our gathering on this day is a powerful reminder to our leaders that unlike the horse in our story, there is enough water in the river for us all. We can and we must be generous to the vulnerable in our midst. May we find generosity today in our hearts and in our budgets and in our legislation to help those in need. And so may we be nurtured in the warm embrace of community that really is the essence of the great state of Rhode Island. And so may each one of us today commit to building, as President Johnson said 55 years ago, a world of peace and justice, freedom and abundance for our time and for all time to come.